Mentally or physically, success can be defined as getting up one more time after you've been knocked down over and over and over again. I'm T.WOOD, and this is Triumphant Moments. With me today, Karen Cohran. Grew up in Maryland outside of Washington, D.C. She is a former Army reservist and certified pediatric nurse with a master's in nursing from Purdue University Global. She is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, and owner of Karen for Kids, a pediatric nursing agency. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay. What does a regular day for you look like getting up in the morning? Is it coffee? Is it some kind of meditation? What does a regular day in the morning look like for you?
Well, I start my day with daily prayer and meditation. I pray over my business, I pray over my children, and then I call my grandchildren because I have to start my day with them. But it's a very busy morning in the morning for me.
Well, it's clear that you love your grandchildren because you just seem to put a little more emphasis when you say grandchildren.
I do.
So clearly they mean a lot to you.
Yes. Being a grandmother is the best thing in the world. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren.
Okay.
I have 1 granddaughter and 3 grandsons. And together with my husband, we have 17 grandchildren and a great-grandson. So
You find a way to get some time, like these days, using social media and things of that sort, video chat, things like that?
Yeah, I thank God for the video chat. We do that every day. I get to see my grandchildren every day. 3 of my grandchildren live in Washington State, and I see them every day. And I have a grandson in Savannah, Georgia. So I get to see them every day. So thank God for technology.
I know that's right. So you're not running short on providing that love and experiencing it.
Not at all.
So if we take a step back, what was life like growing up in Clinton, Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C.?
I had a good life. I was raised in a 2-parent home, and we're a very close family, lots of friends, and lots of good times at my home. I had a very, very good childhood.
Okay, so siblings.
Okay, I have 2 sisters, and I have 1 half-sister and 2 half-brothers.
Okay. Now, did everyone grow up the same house, or was it more?
No, it was just me and my 2 sisters.
Okay.
And our parents.
Okay, because I asked that because I already know how the age thing goes. All right. So, which sibling or yourself acted as the boss of the other siblings?
My 1 sister in the middle, Michelle, she is the boss. You know, my mother is deceased now, and Michelle is my mother reincarnated. She looks like her, she acts like her, sounds like her. But yeah, that middle sister. I'm the baby of the bunch.
So y'all just kind of let her do her thing?
Oh yeah, you have to. She has that personality. You have to.
Well, clearly, growing up with your siblings, you actually participated a part in foster care. So what I want to know is what motivated you as you got older to, be a part in foster care as someone that actually has worked in that field? What motivated you to be a parent in foster care?
I love children. And at that time, I had a 6-year-old. And unfortunately, I not able to have any more children. I had spoke to my husband at the time that we would adopt another 6-year-old. So I worked at Children's Hospital, and I met these 2 wonderful siblings. They were 6 and 7 at the time. They were sisters.
Wow.
I didn't want to split them up, so we adopted them both.
The fact that you didn't want to split them up is a big deal. As an individual that's worked, as a professional actually that's worked in that, that profession, a lot of times the siblings actually get split apart in order for someone to actually take them in a home. What's your feeling on that?
Well, if you can provide the space for them and you have love in your heart, then you should try to keep the children together. And as I said, my husband and I, we were only looking to adopt just 1 more playmate for my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter. And I just couldn't split them up. I couldn't do it. We had enough space in our home, we had enough space in our hearts. So
foster kids and all children that you had at that time, what are the ages and what are the names?
well, I just had two.
Mm-hmm.
My two daughters now,
Mm-hmm.
Kiana, and she is 28 years old,
Okay.
and Tiana, and she'll be 30 next week.
Okay. Now, I know you said the age, but do they act a little older than that?
Tiana does.
Uh-oh.
Tiana is the mommy. Sometimes I have to, just remind her that I'm her mother. So Tiana's always, she has an old soul, an old spirit. She
Yeah.
always has.
She always has?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes. Well, that was a good thing
Oh, that was
for
a good
us.
thing.
For us,
Oh.
yeah. Especially after I experienced a divorce.
Okay.
So I needed her.
Well, I tell you what.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the highlights that you would say stand out to you in your mind being a foster parent, the positive highlights of being a foster parent? What stands out to you? Just the different experiences.
Just having these wonderful daughters that I can't imagine life without them. They've just added so much to my family. They've added so much to my life. They say if you feed a child enough, eventually they'll start to look like you and act like you. I just love them. I love them. I can't even remember life without them. They, just really good girls. I just feel like I was so blessed to have those two. And I have to tell you how I met them. I was actually waiting for Child and Family Services to give me a call about a foster child. And Tiana and Kiana had come in to get their vaccines. So right in the middle of their vaccines, I asked the person that was with them, could I take a phone call? Because I had received a call, and I told her, I said, I think it's about a child that my husband and I were looking to adopt. And it wasn't. And when I came back in the room, I told her, it wasn't a call. And she was like, you're looking to adopt a child? I said, yeah. And she
Wait,
said,
she just asked you?
She asked me, she said, are you looking to adopt a child? I said, yeah. And, even before that, I, just interacting with my two daughters, I said, wow, I hope that we're lucky to get two children like these. And when I went back in the room and she asked me, did I want to adopt a child? I said, yeah. She said, how about two? And she said, what about these two? So it was nothing but God. It was nothing but God, and I knew that it was meant to be from the very beginning.
Now, when you saw them, they literally were in...
They were in the clinic having a checkup, and they had come into my room to get their vaccines. And I just thought, God, when we get our children, I hope they're as great as these children here.
Now, when you first saw them, was there any... I know y'all were anticipating to have some, but was there any nervousness, some reservation? Just when you saw them, did it hit you like...
I felt so connected to them already. I felt so good about, just being around them, and I just felt so connected to them. It was just something that drew me to them, and I distinctly remember asking God when I went to that call, I hope that we get a child as great as these two children.
You literally spoke it into existence.
Yes, yes. And when I came back into that room, she asked me, she said, was that your call? I said, no. And she said, are you interested in adopting a child? And then that's the end of the story. We fostered, so I wasn't interested in foster care. I wanted to adopt. I was a little afraid of foster care because I didn't want someone to come and take the children out of the home.
Right.
So, but we had to foster them for a year until we could get our adoption finalized.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that potential fear might come from being so invested in the child. Is that possible? Being so invested in the child and then potentially having the child,
Taken away. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I was never going to let that happen. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a little step back, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and look at things, okay. As we know in life, we always are having, part of our growth is experiencing things.
Mm-hmm.
Some are up, some are down, but as long as we find a way to press forward,
Mm-hmm.
we can adapt and we can take something for what we've been through, okay? In 2004, now you survived a horrific divorce after your then husband
Mm-hmm.
Sexually abused your foster children, okay? Now, here's the question posed here. Talk about the steps that you took to make it through that level of devastation. What are some of the steps that you took to survive that?
Well, I have, again, only God to thank for guiding me. And there was one doctor, Dr. Galanis, when I had first found out what my husband at the time had done to our children, he was the first person I called, and I don't know why. I don't know what made me call their pediatrician. But he encouraged me to stay strong, and my husband was in the house at the time when I found out. He didn't know that I knew he was taking a shower. And I'm not a violent person, but when I found out what he had did to our children, I wanted to kill my husband. I did. But the pediatrician told me to just stay strong, let him go to work, and then I just had to jump right into action.
So pause me. So initially, you know what you felt initially.
Yeah.
It sounded as
I was
though
so hurt.
You had to show some restraint in that moment.
I was so hurt, and I kind of stayed in the basement until, I could hear him finishing his shower and go out, going to work. And then I just kind of held my kids back from school because we were getting them ready for school. And then I had a talk with them, and they shared with me what had happened. And immediately, then I took them to PG Hospital to get an examination done, which pretty much confirmed everything. And then we just went straight to the police station. Went to the police station, and
there's a level of just mentality that you have to have in order to push through that moment. So, in taking a step and just looking back at it, you showed great restraint, and you did it in the presence of strength for the kids. Okay. Is there anything that else you can put out there as far as what are the steps mentally, like what mindset? How did you hold on? Because you're here now, and able to put a smile on your face, for what you've been through. So what is there? Did you black out? Is there anything in your mind, a mindset that you had to pull yourself on through that?
I again have to give all credit to God. I have to give all credit to God because I had to press forward for my children. I had to get us to a place, for one, of safety. And then for two, I knew that turning my husband in, which there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to do that. He had been my husband of 15 years. And I never suspected that he could do something like that. But I had to turn him in, and I knew that instantly my world would change. I felt like someone had pulled the carpet from under my feet. My kids were mentally a mess from the broken home.
You can tell.
I could tell. They were afraid. They were afraid. And when I spoke to my daughters, I think they were afraid that they would have to go back. And then my biological daughter, she was afraid that I was going to divorce her father and that we were going to break up this home, in which, I had to do that.
So let's look at this. You're literally put yourself in the centerpiece. On one side, you have what just happened. This is your husband of 15 years, right?
Yep.
15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Does this devastating thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Take the kids it happened to, okay? On the other side, you have the kids that it happened to, their fear of going back.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take the biological child and you look at her concern of you simply divorcing.
Yeah. She was only 10 years old. My children were babies. And my biological daughter, her biggest fear was that our home was going to break up. So we had one moment when I had taken them to therapy, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever experienced, because when when my biological daughter had come out, the therapist made them, they had them make T-shirts. And my daughter came out and she put all these wonderful things about her father. He was a great man and a fun dad. And I was happy to see her T-shirt, and I just wanted to keep her encouraged. But then when my other two daughters came out of therapy, they had the same project. So they made these same T-shirts, but it was like, the monster is bad, and he was a horrible person. And I had to ask my youngest daughter, I said, you know, we can't put that T-shirt up on the wall, you know, because it would affect my youngest daughter. So it was a struggle for me on how to cater to both of their feelings, you know, how to I guess,
Be able to balance.
yeah, with both of them. So we just decided that we would put the T-shirts away.
Wow.
And no one would put their T-shirts
That
out.
is a very tough decision to make in itself.
Yeah.
Because they're expressing their honest thoughts and how they feel.
Right.
And you're not trying to highlight one over the other and
Right.
allowing someone to do something and be able and hold back the other individual, you know?
So we made a pact in our home, and the pact was that we would never say bad things about him, even though he had done horrible things.
Wow.
But we would never say bad things. And I had to tell my family, because I started getting calls from them, you know, hey, Kay, you know, do you want me to do this or do that? And I was like, look, don't come over here with that.
Family.
Don't come over here with that. You know, we're okay. So we're not going to talk bad about what he done. He's paying for that now. That's between him and the Lord and the jail system.
Right.
So
And since then, he at that time, he was incarcerated.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was. He was given 50 years in prison. He only served 6, but he was sentenced to 50 years in prison.
Right.
He's out now.
Right. You had to maintain your family afar. Because you know how sometimes if you tell family something and they get into that protective mode, they want to do this, they want to do that. How did you keep that at bay?
I just had to tell them. When I told my mother, you know, the first thing she said was, thank God that my father was deceased. So, because he probably would have done some things. But yeah, I just had to tell them that, you know, that we decided to let the law deal with him, and that we were not going to speak bad about him in our home. I didn't want that negative energy in our home. We had already been through enough. And I decided not to keep it a secret. You know, I was very, very hurt by what he had done, but I wasn't ashamed because I had no part in that. And I know that we had other children come into our home, and I just felt that everyone that was in my circle and in my home, they needed to know what had happened. And I told them because I didn't want anyone to add anything to our story. Our story was terrible enough.
Right.
So I had to be honest and true about it, because I just didn't want anybody to add to the story.
And you actually beat me to it, but that was another thing. When you experience something like that, or anything similar to it or near, the first, it's kind of like anxiety, fight or flight, you know, is to kind of hide.
Mm-hmm.
You did not hide. You met it head on. You knew it was devastating, and you found a way to meet it head on. Based off what you said earlier, is it safe to assume that your spirituality played a role in your strength?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And just the love for my daughters, you know, just the love for my daughters. I had to protect them. I had to, you know, keep my family together. I just had to. And I did everything that I could, that I knew how. You know, the first thing I had to do was to get a second job because our household income had been slashed.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And just that process of doing that with the kid, maintaining the kids, and then getting a second job, and then finding a way to balance that time. Was it like night and day, babysitters?
No, we couldn't afford the daycare, and we had to cut out a lot of luxuries. You know, we had housekeepers that would come, we had a lawn guy, you know, that would come. We had to cut all of that out. The good thing is my lawn man. I have to mention him, Randy Morgan. He stuck in there with me, and he knew I couldn't afford to pay him. And I didn't have a lawnmower, but he came and he helped us. So we had a lot of people that, you know, pitched in, and they helped because finances, they were really tight for us when my ex-husband, you know, had to go to prison because he lost his job. We didn't have time to plan or to save up money or anything. And my first thought, you know, was to take the kids and run, maybe go down south where it's cheaper, Then I said, no, let's stay here. So I looked for an apartment. The apartments were more expensive than my mortgage, so I had to stay. And it was my oldest daughter, Tiana, that would look after the younger two siblings for me.
She took on that responsibility.
She did. I had to work a day shift job and a night shift job. I often say I was burning the candle at both ends. And Tiana, she had to make sure that they ate their breakfast, that they got up for school and got dressed and got out the door on time. She was just my rock. She was my rock then and now. She is. Mm-hmm.
Taking everything that we have just gone over that you've experienced, many of the things that you just mentioned would cause one to literally give up. But again, you're sitting here in front of me, mm-hmm. able to put a smile on your face, brought your family through regardless of the stakes. Out of those ashes, you created Karen for Kids Incorporated, okay? So tell us more about this organization. What is Karen for Kids Incorporated?
Well, Karen for Kids is a pediatric nursing agency. We provide private duty nursing services for medically fragile children, mm-hmm. and we provide our nursing service throughout the region of Maryland. So our kids are complex care children. They're children on life-sustaining technology, like ventilators. They have trachs and feeding tubes. And it's a complex care agency. We only hire skilled nurses, and we turn their little bedrooms into little ICUs. Children statistically do better when they're home. All patients do. They tend to heal faster, and they thrive, and they just do better in their own environment. So that's what we do.
Now, is it easy to say that it didn't just snap your fingers and it just developed? Was there some hills to climb in that situation, that you had to go through to get it to this point?
Yes, definitely. But it starts a little bit before Karen for Kids. So back to, again, my rock Tiana. I thought it was becoming a little bit too much for her to maintain the household while I worked. So I had to think of some way or something I could do to make money, and be home more with my kids. So I started, my first business was Karen for Hearts. It was a CPR training center. So I would just work one job and then teach CPR on the side at home to earn extra income. So I saved that money up, and during that whole time, I was working as a pediatric private duty nurse myself.
Simultaneously, you still were balancing?
I was still working as a pediatric nurse doing home care myself, and then I just decided, I could start my own nursing agency. So that's what I did. Tiana and I cleared out the basement, and I put her down there, and I said, Tiana, you answer the phones, and I'm going to go do the nursing work.
How did she handle that job?
Oh, she was happy, and she excels at everything that she does. She's just amazing. So she answered those phones, and I did the nursing work, and then eventually, it just started to grow a little bit, and it became a little too busy for her. So I was like, let's go get the little girl across the street. She could file some papers, you answer the phone, and I do the nursing work.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So that's what we did, and then it just grew a little bit more, and before you know it, we had moved the business. It consumed my whole basement, and then it started moving up on our middle floor, and our kitchen was the cafeteria, and our formal living room was the reception area.
So you had it all laid out?
Oh yeah. But, then the complaints started rolling in.
Really?
I got a complaint from my homeowners association that we had too much traffic in and out of the home. And I felt salty because I had been in my home at that time. It had been about 10 or 15 years. 10 or
15 years in a home.
And I got a complaint, and I didn't feel good about that. I knew all my neighbors, and I don't know where the complaint, who complained, and I thank God that I didn't know. But they complained, and I had to move the business out of the home. And that was a blessing.
I was about to say, how was that transition?
It was hard, only because I was feeling salty,
That was still kind of on your back a little bit.
We were doing fine at home, and we were operating between hours of 9 and 5, so I was courteous enough to, have the cars gone before the neighbors got home from work, but, the complaint came in, and I had to look for a space to rent for business, and here we are. So that was my blessing. You know, every day I come in this office, I have to pass, you know, and I look up there and I just thank God. I thank God. I have to. This is nothing but God. You know, I'm amazed. And even with Tiana, we just kind of, we didn't have a business background. I'm a nurse.
That was the next question.
No business background.
I didn't hear you mention that earlier.
No, I'm a nurse. And the one thing I knew is that I'm a good nurse.
Oh.
I am. And, you know, I hope I'm not sounding arrogant or anything like that. But I know that I have a passion for taking care of people. I have a passion for nursing. I love children. And I am good at what I do. But I didn't know anything about business, and neither did Tiana. So we kind of got the business going before we got our education going. So we both went back to school. She's in school now, and I went back to school to further my education, to catch up with the business.
I want to take time out, viewers. I want to make sure that they understand the essence of what you just said. See, there's this misconception that life is a direct script, okay? It has to happen this way, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It has to happen in a certain order. That is not the case. You are a witness of that, all right?
Yeah.
Our steps are ordered. All right? I don't necessarily try to push religion on anyone. I have my own relationship with God, okay? But I will say this, okay? For those who seem to think that you have to follow whatever is the popular thing in life, get your education first, you know, collect some loans, you know, student loans, and then you go out there and you get your job. No, that's not the case that happened with you.
No.
That's not. Y'all were able to put that together and then come successful and then dig back to make sure you have the other things that are necessary that will help it to continue to rise and grow. If you had to describe one of the rewards you get from your job, from your business, from your organization to the people, what are some of the joys you get that you see from helping people?
The greatest joy is just knowing that we've made a difference in some families' life. You know, some of our children, they have chronic illnesses where they may live many years, you know, in the same state. And some children, unfortunately, the life expectancy is very short. But my joy is knowing that we help the family, you know, and we're just helping the children to have the best quality of life that they possibly can have, rather that period be short or long term.
Wow.
So that's my greatest joy.
Is there an idea, depending on the condition of the child, you know, where things might be going, you know, because sometimes you grow an attachment for your clients, I would think. You know, and is that difficult for you?
Well, I have to tell you something about an attachment. So I have this one little patient. I've been a nurse for 30 years, a pediatric nurse, and she was one of my first clients that I took care of at home. And her doctors would tell us, you know, don't get attached, like she's probably not going to live that long. And, you know, you learn that in nursing school. Any nurse knows you kind of have to separate that. But this little girl, we didn't think she would live long, but she did. And she was only 4 months when I started working with her. And we just loved her back to good health. So I wasn't her private nurse for long, just maybe I think 4 or 5 years, but we became friends. And she just continued to thrive and thrive. And she's our supermodel on our brochure. She is 28 years old, and she works for us part-time and as needed. So I wish I could find the doctor that told us, you know, that had given up hope on her, but we helped love her back into good health. She still has some challenges, but she comes in here, you know, and she works with us when we need her to work. So she's an employee.
Wow. Every step you seem to show how you're willing to take a step forward, no matter the conditions, no matter what you're being told, no matter what's being thrown at you, you're continuing to find a step, and you see it and you keep taking it without any guarantees, without a significant amount of, okay, this is likely to happen. You still step forward.
I have to mention, too, I have to go back a little bit. Did I mention that we didn't have any money? And that I had to work to pay those bills. We didn't have any money. And I went to, when I came up with the idea of starting this business, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money saved. I went to the bank and I tried to get loans, and everybody turned me down because in the midst of the divorce, I ended up having to file bankruptcy. So my credit was bad, but I talked to my ex-husband's brother, my brother-in-law, and I told him about my dream.
Right.
And he gave me his credit card. He gave me his credit card. It had like a really large balance because I needed that to help pay my first payroll. I couldn't get a loan from the bank. We had to provide the service first before we could get paid, and I needed some money. And he just believed in me and in caring for kids, and he gave me his credit card. And I was so grateful. I had divorced his brother, so, we were no longer family. But
There was no attachment there.
No, but he gave me that credit card, and I told him, I said, if you just let me use this the way I need to use it, I will pay you back. When I am successful, I always claim that. I said, I'll pay you back, and I'll give you some extra, and I did. And then I met this wonderful guy.
Listen, viewers.
That did the same. So he's my husband now, the
Right.
person that I have now.
That is actually something I wanted to tap into, and I had to catch you there.
Okay.
Because I really want to zone in for all the ladies, okay? For all the ladies who struggle with finding the courage to love again. The horrific divorce in 2004. Here it is, 2016. 2016,
Yeah.
years later, after everything that you went through, you found the courage to marry again?
I met a wonderful guy. Now, I had some frogs along the way.
Right.
I did, but I found a wonderful guy, and he was one of the guys, too, that helped me financially to get my first payroll paid because I just didn't have the money. And then I thought, dating again after being married for 15 years. I got married young. I was a little girl. I was 20, so dating was so different. And then I thought, who would want me? Who would want me? I have so much baggage now. I'm a single mama. I have 3 kids, a baby daddy in jail. We even had a social worker at the time, because of what he did. We had to have a social worker assigned to us. My life was a mess. My beautiful, perfect life was a mess. And I didn't think that anybody would want me. Not to mention my self-esteem. I took a hit as a woman because of what my ex-husband did, wondering what was so wrong with me, But I've grown to realize that, he has a sickness. That was a sickness, and that was a problem, and it had nothing to do with me. But I met a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man.
You're starting to glow as you talk about him. You're starting to sit over here.
We
and glow.
dated for a long time before we got married, though, because he had been married for a very long time, and I had been married for a long time. We both were divorced, but we're married now, and he's good. He accepted me and all my baggage and my kids and my no money, and he helped us. He helped us, and I appreciate him for that.
If you had to say what was the key ingredient, or a key ingredient, because there's many things it can be. But if you had to just think about it, it's not easy. You know it's not. So what do you think is something that helped you find that courage to give it a try?
I just fell head over heels. It was just it was something about him. As I mentioned, even with meeting my daughters for the first time, it was just something about them that, I knew it was right. And when I met my husband, it was just something about him.
I tell you what, with that being said, there's something that I created called encouragement for free, okay? So it could be anything that we've talked about here. Or it could be something that you have on your mind, on your heart. But right now, for all the listeners, or anyone viewing, what is some encouragement for free that you can provide to them that might encourage somebody?
I would have to say that no matter how dark the road looks ahead of you. No matter how dark it is ahead of you, you have to find a light. There's a light in darkness. There's a light that you have to find. That light may be so little. It may be just that God woke you up this morning. And sometimes that's the only light, you know, that's the first light that I saw, is that you are alive. You woke up this morning. So no matter how dark the road is, to just find a light, find something, and just keep pushing forward. Don't look back.
What I'm taking from that is, as individuals, as people, no matter your culture, no matter your race, we all have some type of strength in us. And sometimes it could be the very smallest, simple thing that we seem to overlook. What I'm hearing from you is find that strength, whatever that thing is, hold on to it. Use that no matter what it is, and push through.
Yeah.
Ms. Karen, I really appreciate you coming here for this part in the segment. Really thank you for being here. It's Triumphant Moments with T.WOOD. With me today, I have Miss Tiana. She is the daughter of Miss Karen, part of our part 2 segment. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Now, I asked Miss Karen this, I asked her mother this when I had her on the show earlier. What does her daily routine look like? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Like, is it push-ups? Like, what does a regular day look like for you?
For me, pretty much I wake up, I thank God for opening my eyes, and I just go from there. I pretty much take off from there. Get dressed in the morning, check my to-do list, and go ahead and just make sure I have breakfast in the morning, because of course, if you don't have breakfast, your day may not turn out to be, or let's say your morning may not turn out to be so great. So definitely put some food on your stomach.
I'm already feeling like you are way more organized than me, because the first thing you said was, I check my to-do list.
Yes.
Has it always been like that? You've always, like, you know...
No, sometimes I have some surprises that I forget. You know, there may be an appointment or something like that, but I've learned to, you know, over the years that you have to be organized and make sure you check your daily tasks for the day so you're not off schedule. Okay. I'm just hoping some osmosis where, you know, the stuff that you suggest, and I get some of that. You know, I get some of that. What I want to do is take a step back and look at life in general. Okay.
And when we're looking at your life and the ups and downs and things that you've been through.
Yes.
If we were to take a little chunk and a little piece out and just kind of dissect it and look at it. Now, you were removed from your biological parents into a foster care home with Miss Karen as your mom.
Yes.
If you were to describe how important Miss Karen is to you, what would that picture look like?
It's bright. It's really bright. It's a bright picture. My mom, she's amazing. She is just full of energy, love, you know, very respectful, and, you know, she has shown us so many characters, I guess, within just youth up until, you know, growing up to be a grown woman, how to just really, you know, handle yourself and make sure you take care of yourself. So she is very, very powerful woman. She has an impact on everyone that she comes across.
Now, you know how some people have a way of still invoking their presence without having to stick their chest out. Miss Karen seems to have that ability. Would you agree?
Yes.
How would you describe her way to engage with people in general? Just anybody?
It's just everything comes from the heart from her. So it's not from whatever situation they're in. It's more so from her heart, genuinely from her heart. So she guides people in what she believes is, you know, true to her heart. And I think that, you know, many people gravitate towards that because they know that it's sensible and it's personal. It's not just, you know, business, or it's not just an opinion or something that's going to steer them the wrong way. So it's more of a coming from the heart. She really cares about people, care for people, and she's just an awesome person, like overall well-rounded, awesome person.
Trying to ignore the fact that every time you say a name or mention her, you're smiling. You know, Look, one thing that I can just say that I've noticed right off top, going through what you went through to be taken out of the home of your biological parents and being with Miss Karen as your mother.
Yes.
There's something that I noticed that you said. You didn't say, that's my foster mom. You said, that's my mom.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, foster mom, in the beginning, that's what she was. We were just getting to know who she was. Being out of my biological home with my biological mother and father, and going into, prior to Miss Karen, I was actually with my aunt, one of our family friends, and we stayed there for some years with her before we actually was introduced to my mom now, in which she was our nurse. She was our nurse.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, she was our nurse as children, so she gave us shots and things like that, and that's how we ultimately met her. And then from there, she just opened up her home to me and my younger sister, and from there, foster mom was not a word for her. She was more than a foster mom. She was more so, my mom without blood, if that makes sense. So, but everything else, she treated me as her own. She treated me and my sister as her own. To this day, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. She's definitely a blessing to me.
When we're thinking back to you as a child, is there anything specific that you aspired to be? Just as an adolescent growing up, is there anything that you dreamed of being and that you just knew, okay, I want to do this?
I really wanted to be a nurse at one point, but unfortunately, just over the years, I have a good heart and I love to take care of people, but I actually had close contact with that field as a assistant, if that makes sense, without having the certifications, because that was like one of my first jobs, working in a nursing home.
Right.
And I love caring for people, but I just couldn't see myself doing that as a daily job. But honestly, I love children as well. So that's always been, I'm auntie. I have over 15 nieces and nephews, so I just love children. I don't have any of my own yet. But being in this field, caring for kids, and being on the back end to be able to serve children and give back to children and the medically fragile population, it's an honor to be here. Honestly, I love it. I enjoy it. I don't have hands-on with the actual patients of ours, but just knowing that the back end, I'm doing something that's helping to care for the medically fragile individuals in our community is amazing. I just love this position. I just love it. See,
and clearly you would have never,
So it does tie to the clinical and, the children. So it's different from what I envisioned, my life to be as an adult, but I love it. I love it.
Look, how would you describe your personality growing up? Like, were you an individual? Were you a person that, you kind of sit back, watch the scene and kind of scope things that's going out? Or were you more like, hey, everybody that come by you trying to talk to? Which direction would you, or your mix, your version of it? How would you describe growing up your personality?
Oh. I was always loud and outspoken.
What? No.
And that's just who I am. I'm a people's person, so I love people. I love the energy that people give, and I give the same in return. So I've always been a people's person, so I'm always loud, like to have fun. I don't like to see people sad or, feeling like they're not included or, I just love people. I'm just a people's person, so.
So you would say that you've always been that?
I've always been, pretty outspoken, pretty loud and outgoing.
So let's take another direction. In understanding what your personality was from your upbringing, being a people person and, not afraid to, and not shying away from kind of engaging with people.
Sure.
All right? Let's, for 1 second, take a look at the trauma, that you've experienced in your life. Okay? So let's look at it. you know, went through what you went through from your biological parents, coming in to foster care.
Yes.
You experienced being sexually assaulted by your foster father.
Correct.
Would you say that affected your personality?
No. No. I definitely think that it didn't change or it affected my personality. I think it more so impacted my upbringing as far as just, you know, my relationships and get me to where I am now. So I wouldn't say it affected my personality, no.
Okay. And when you said your relationships, so is it safe to say that it affected how you communicated with maybe a potential significant other?
Yes.
Okay. If you dived into it, in what way would you describe how it affected how you communicated, how you expressed yourself with just a potential significant other?
Well, I would say that it was more so, I guess I became a mute almost in certain relationships, and I didn't like that because that's not who I am.
Right.
Again, I mentioned that I'm outspoken, I'm very bubbly, and you know, I'm an overall people's person, but I feel like in those relationships I became a little bit a mute because of, you know, self-esteem issues and not knowing who I really was at the time, and you know, just a part of that teenage young adult stage that I really didn't know who I was and still trying to figure it out. So a lot of the past or my trauma from my past impacted my relationships significantly because I didn't know what I was looking for. I thought I was looking for, or I thought I was in love, but I really wasn't, you know, and just trying to find that void of something that I was missing from my childhood in my significant other, and honestly, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. So.
And so
It led me into, you know, relationships that were very toxic for
Right.
me, and some of them were physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. So I had to learn through those relationships that that's not what I wanted. That's not who I am. You know, I should be treated, you know, with respect and
Come
love
on now.
myself better than that.
Come
So
on now.
it took a while. It took a few years. You know, there was a few relationships I was in that, you know, that had that toxic relationship. Though now, I'm happy. Yeah.
And that was something I really wanted to make sure that got addressed, because a lot of individuals, people, there will be someone listening or watching this
Yes.
that may be going through what you experienced. They may be going through that right now.
Yes.
Okay? So if you were to take a time to think about it, what would you consider may have been a key ingredient for you to survive that? You're here now and you're able to smile. I said this to Miss Karen, like, you're able to sit here and you're brave enough to come here and express that
Yes.
in order to help someone else.
Yes.
What was key in you getting to this point for you?
Strength, honestly, it's just strength and prayers. You know, I know that there's many females out there that are going through it now, or that have gone through what I've been through, and unfortunately, it has impacted them so significantly, where they're probably still dealing with a lot of their trauma. And you know, for me, I just like to tell my story and show people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you have to go through things, and unfortunately, you know, it's not what we expect to go through. But you know, through those lessons that we have learned, those are lessons, and you have to learn from it. You see, you can't just keep putting yourself back in those situations, or not learning from what you've been through in order to get to where you are. That's really,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And I know my viewers and the listeners are going to maybe chuckle at this, but it is something that I constantly say. Sometimes in life, you have to pull from what you've been through
Yes.
in order to conquer what's in front of you, what you're going through.
That's right.
You know, so you can sit here now and you can say that what you've experienced didn't cause you to just, I guess, give up on necessarily love. Because if I'm correct, and I think I'm correct, you know, You're engaged right now?
Happily engaged, yes.
Talk to us to get to that point after everything that you look, viewers, listen. Okay? I can't let this be glossed over. Of all the tears that I know you shed.
Oh, of course.
All the moments where it's clear that you might have wanted to give up. And you still get to this point to where you're willing to give love a try. You had to get to a better understanding of yourself in order to get there,
I had
right?
to. Yes, I did. Yes.
Tell us more on that. Just knowing that you had to get to an understanding of, who you are.
Sure. So for me, as I mentioned, I was in a very abusive relationship. My last relationship, it was really, really physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. And it got to the point where I finally just had to, there was an incident that occurred that unfortunately, that was the last straw for the relationship. And it actually almost cost me my life. So being able to look back and see that, that moment and where I was, I actually took a break from a relationship for a while.
Wow. Just
in general, just giving myself that time to kind of rebuild myself.
Right.
Because it was a lot of mental, it's a lot mentally that weighed on me.
It drained you?
It drained me mentally, yes, emotionally. And, you forget who you are. And honestly, it was a lot. It was a lot. But I had to give myself that mental break in order for me to rebuild myself.
Wow.
So it came with a lot of prayer, of course. My mom is a prayer warrior, so of course that's where it falls from.
We know.
That's where it falls from. So her strength over the years, just in everything that we've been through as a family, her strength and her prayers has really pulled me out of a lot of my past situations and trauma. So it made things a little bit easier for me, knowing that you have that support, But ultimately, it's within me. I had to really just back up from everybody and realize, no, Tiana, you need to get yourself together before you can step back out and, open yourself up to anyone else, So from there, I had to, heal my heart, heal my mind, my mental, my emotional, my health. I gained a lot of weight in my last relationship from just the overall stress that was in the relationship. Right. So food was like my go-to. I was separated from my family and friends during that time because of
that adds up.
How toxic it was. So it was a hard stage for me. So I gained a lot of weight and went through a lot of things alone. But ultimately, like I said, it's just, excuse me, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to do it. I'm sorry.
When you are releasing something that you've made it through, it's almost like I don't necessarily see tears of pain. There's some joy in those tears.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So during that time, again, that I took that break from a relationship, it was more so to get myself back together mentally, emotionally, physically. And, I've done pretty well for myself.
Yes.
I set goals for myself, and, I'm really proud of myself and where I came from. It was a struggle, but honestly, I didn't give up on myself.
Oh, my goodness. Come on now.
I didn't give up.
And here's the thing. You made it, and it's almost like it's a marathon. It doesn't stop.
Yes.
So there's still different challenges, but you used everything you went through to get to this point right now.
Absolutely.
So after looking at that, I have to ask, in your eyes, in your mind, and in your heart, what would be some of the most positive memories that you say that you could share with Miss Karen since coming to being at home and developing that mother-daughter relationship with Miss Karen? What are some highlights You know, maybe things y'all might have did together or what?
Well, you know, again, I told you my mom is a prayer warrior. So has she, in her strength, honestly, just building off of her strength and her prayers, if she didn't have it, honestly, we wouldn't have it. And, you know, you look up, I look up to her, you know, she's my inspiration. She's been, you know, my go-to for everything. She's my best friend, you know. She's just so powerful, you know. And she helps me through a lot. Everything that I've been through, and to this day, you know, you just could tell and just see the love that's there, you know. So, I mean, we do a lot of things together, personally, business related, like everything. She's my best friend, like, you know, we just do everything. So there are times we, you know, we want to go shopping, we go shopping. You know, we want to eat together, we eat together. You know, we want to do anything, want to travel, we do everything together, you know. And then as far as the business, we're always in communication day in and day out because this is the business, you know, this is business. So it's 24/7. Unfortunately, you know, there's no downtime, but we enjoy it, you know. We really enjoy it because, again, we are servicing the community of medically fragile children. And that alone, you know, it's hard, you know, on caregivers, you know. So if we could be that peace or give some type of comfort to the parents or families or anything, the nurses, the administrative staff, we're here. We're here.
Wow. What I want to do is, for this particular ending of the segment, I'd like to bring your mother, Karen, in. Miss Karen, when you look at everything that you all have experienced, both of y'all, it's amazing because individually, y'all had your own battles. But together, y'all have gone through some things. And y'all didn't even turn and put the blame on each other. Y'all found a way to get here. I think it's safe to say that we can consider that a blessing.
Yes.
Okay. Now I gotta ask this, you know, not everybody just comes up as an adolescent and say, hey, I'm gonna work with mama or I'm gonna work with dad. So being that y'all kind of sort of, yes, you know, work together, y'all like a dynamic duo. Let me go ahead and say it, all right? I'm not gonna hold it no more.
We are a dynamic duo.
Y'all like a dynamic duo. So, wait, who's the boss again? Wait, who is it? Does it rotate?
It's really me.
Big boss.
However, I've been told that she was the root.
Ooh.
Maybe you said that.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did I say that?
She's at one time she said she was the root.
I mean, I'm up there, but
Tell her.
No, she is awesome. I couldn't have made it without my TT. I couldn't have. She is my right hand. She's my backbone. She is my girl.
aww.
I tell you what, now, you know, y'all make a dynamic duo, but what really motivated you to work with your mother?
Phew.
Well, she had to.
Hold on.
I needed her to answer those phones.
Hold on.
Ooh, it was a challenge in the beginning, you know. Of course, you know, trying to separate mommy from boss lady. But
Okay.
It actually turned out pretty good. Look at us now.
Yes.
It was a lot. It was a lot. You know, we had some times where we were, you know, pulling each other's teeth a little bit, but other than that,
Tell them.
you know, we actually made it through. We made it. We
Well,
made
I'm
it.
glad you decided to stay.
She made it easy.
We've had some tough times.
She made it easy
Right.
in some portions, so it was a lot. We went through a lot together, but ultimately, you know, her just not giving up on me as well. You know, when it comes to just my strengths, she knew my strengths, she knew my weaknesses, and you know, vice versa. You know, so we know what buttons to press, and we know what we could do to get through, you know, certain situations, and we've made it.
So here's the thing. Looking back at life, it's amazing how you both actually had some similarities in going through something in relationships that was horrific. And then coming back to everything, summing it up, that you were able to find some type of courage to allow love to try to manifest in your life, okay? So here's the thing. Whether it's something that we might have talked about during this show or something that you may have in your heart, I have this thing I created called Encouragement for Free. What is something that you could provide right now, some type of encouragement for free to all of our listeners that may be listening or watching, or or viewing this right now? What is some type of encouragement that you can provide to them?
Well, I would tell them to turn every ounce of pain that they have into power, to keep going forward. Just turn your pain into power and press on.
I tell you, Tiana, for that young lady who's watching this, she's going through what you went through right now.
I would say talk to someone that you can really trust, someone that you know that will take action, because unfortunately, you know, there's many young girls or even boys out there that are going through
Yes.
or went through or is going through what I've went through as far as sexual abuse. So you have to find someone that you really trust, that you know that will take action. And I know that that's easy to say and maybe hard to do. But you have to, there has to be someone. If not a family member, there has to be someone, maybe a school official or someone that you know, come in contact with frequently, that you really trust to share information like that, that
Right.
will take action. Because unfortunately, everyone don't go about it the way that my mom did, unfortunately, you know, and a lot of children are told to be quiet or not to speak of it again, and, you know, it continues to happen to them, and, you know, homes are just, unfortunately, just in a bad shape because of, you know, a child speaking up and being truthful to somebody that they feel they love and trust, and they didn't take action or don't listen to the child. So if, you know, whatever it takes for you to seek some type of help or get released from that, you know, definitely find someone that you can really talk to that will take action.
Right.
Because that's ultimately where it has gotten our family, is
Right.
by taking action.
Right. I thank y'all in the courage and in the love that y'all are just spewing up here this direction right now. I'm trying to hold on to it. Okay? Appreciate y'all for having the courage and bravery to be open into helping someone else and express that. And shedding light on how y'all took nothing and was able to develop that into something. And with respect to all cultures, okay, with absolute respect to all cultures, okay, there is something special about a black woman being able to take nothing and form it into something. Love y'all. Again, thank y'all for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. If you or anyone you know has experienced sexual abuse, please know that you are not alone. There are plenty of resources out there. If you could just muster some type of courage within yourself to seek it. Sometimes in life, you must fail in order to succeed. But one thing must remain certain, that you never, ever, ever give up.
That's right.
This is Triumphant Moments, and I'm T.WOOD.